Life is a series of unscripted experiences that forge us into unique individuals. These are the experiences and stories of those who possess the will, beliefs, and fortitude required to overcome obstacles, pursue their passions, and achieve success. Welcome to the HawkCast with your host, AJ Hawk.
Tom Bilyeu joins us from his amazing set there that he films his show, Inside Quest. But Tom, thanks for coming on, man. Really appreciate it.
Dude, what a pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
You look so professional with that with the background you have, and I know you film your amazing show called Inside Quest from the set you're sitting at right now. But before I really get into that, I mean, you have some awesome interviews on there, man, where you're talking to some really influential, from every all walks of life. Robert Greene, Rainn Wilson, Tony Robbins, which I'm definitely going to ask about that. But before I even dive into Inside Quest, I'd like to know exactly right now what your day-to-day looks like as a founder of Quest Nutrition, right? Would that be the parent company?
For sure.
The main umbrella that it all falls under now?
Yes.
What would you say if you take us through like a typical day, which I'm sure you don't have typical days?
Well, we'll rock it out from the moment that I wake up. So, first of all, I never set an alarm. I think that's critical. And if I can impress upon your fans, man, honestly, I stopped setting an alarm probably about 10 years ago. I know people have every excuse under the sun. But man, once you start going to bed early enough and you really get all the sleep you need, it is a beautiful, beautiful place to live. So I wake up when I wake up. Sometimes that's crazy early. I get anywhere from 4 hours sleep to 8 hours. I'd say my average is probably somewhere around 5.5. First thing I do, because I hate working out, but it's an absolute necessity. I roll out of bed. I'm in the gym. I have a gym at my house. So I hit the gym within 15 minutes of waking up. Pound out the workout, come straight to work. So whatever time that is, sometimes I'm in the office at 4 a.m. Sometimes I'm not in the office till 9. So it all depends on what time my day gets going. Come in, I try to take the morning for a little bit of thinking time. I don't do email, so I want to control my own destiny. That's really, really important to me. So I sit down in the morning and I strategize and I think about all the things. One thing I skipped after I work out, I meditate. Come in the morning, I keep that quiet time going where I'm just in my zone. I get to think through what are we trying to do with the company and what are the highest priority items that I could do. I don't check email just because then it's other people dictating my schedule, and I think that's a recipe for disaster. And then from there, probably around 10:30 or so, sometimes I've been in the office for 3 or 4 hours by then, my meetings start. And then it's once you get to a certain point, it's no longer about doing the day-to-day grind of actually executing on stuff. It's more strategic. So I have meetings to make sure the projects are going the way that they should be going. And so every day is a little bit different. But with a company like ours where it's multifaceted, we've got manufacturing, we've got marketing, sales, R&D, all that stuff. You're involved in a lot of really different things. And a big thing for me is leaders need autonomy. So if you're going to attract the kind of high caliber people that we have, part of what I do is give them space. So they go off, they plan their projects, they come back, pitch them, and I spend my day sort of offering guidance.
Wow. So you say you don't check email at all or just in that first couple hours?
No, I don't check email at all, but I'd be lying if I didn't say I have an assistant that checks it for me.
Thank you, June.
June. Big it up, June. She's over here keeping a keen eye.
Tell June thank you very much.
I will. AJ says, thank you, June. June is super legit, man. That she is just an incredible human being, really understands what we're trying to accomplish, helps me stay on track. So she'll scan my email for anything that's critical, because as much as I'd love to have broken the entire world of the email habit, I have not yet. So people do occasionally send things to me, and she makes me aware.
So what is your main form of communication that's not face-to-face?
Text, because it's real time. So that it also forces people to be brief, which is nice.
Do people ever leave you voicemails on your phone?
They do, and it's hilarious because if you call my phone, first of all, I don't even say my name, which is a story into itself. But my voicemail says, leave me a brief message, and people will still leave like a minute and a half message. It's crazy.
And they ramble, and that's like one of my pet peeves that I can't handle. Basically, if someone leaves me a voicemail, I'm not listening to it. Now, I don't run a billion-dollar nutrition company, so I don't have to really. My voicemails are usually whether my dry cleaning's done or something, so it doesn't really matter. But I can imagine for you, how long have you had like someone like June? Like, what did you do before you were this mogul? Like when it comes to communication and email and all that.
Well, from word one, when we started Quest, I had been in business as an entrepreneur for almost a decade at that point. So I already had some rules established. I read Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Workweek. One of the most powerful things I got out of that was controlling your own destiny, not letting other people dictate your schedule, not spending your time in email. So I already had that policy. So people within the company have grown up knowing that I don't check email. So internally, people don't send me a lot of important stuff. They'll send me something like if it's an update and they want June to make sure that I see it. But otherwise, people haven't really. It's mostly stuff from the outside the company where people will send it in. So before I had June, I would spend the last part of my day, every day, I would try not to go to bed without at least scanning through my emails. That was it. Nothing fancy.
Okay, I like it, man. It's efficient. We all should probably turn the corner towards that, but that's a whole nother discussion for sure. That Tim Ferriss, another guy you had on Inside Quest, man, what a I feel like so many people are impacted by Tim's work, and especially by the 4-Hour Workweek. I mean, I read that when it first came out, but it's like all these, especially like entrepreneurs and business people, they all seem to be like connected to Tim somehow. And now he has a great podcast where he has huge guests on. He really kind of shares even more. Like, do you see in other business dealings like that you do, does his work trickle into all different facets of like the whole business world?
Yeah, I think Tim is a really unique mind. He's incredibly powerful. And I don't think it's an accident that he's had the kind of success that he's had. And I always tell people things that are real last. And his advice is real. If you follow it, it will actually improve your business. He was one of those guys that his thinking in the 4-Hour Workweek really had an impact in how we founded Quest. And the most important principle I got from his book wasn't about email. It was about the notion of 1,000 true fans. And he said, if you find 1,000 people who really believe in what you're doing and who will buy everything you do because you've delivered so much value to their life, you can't lose. And I thought, I was just really, really impacted by that. And our previous company, we hadn't been running that way. So we had really been doing the traditional thing of exploiting a niche in a marketplace, seeing sort of a gap in everybody else's product offering and filling that gap, rather than obsessively thinking about your customer and asking one question: how do I deliver more value to that person than anybody else? And so reading that notion of 1,000 true fans, that became the rallying cry. And when we kicked Quest off, we used to talk about that all the time. Like, who are those 1,000 true fans? Where do they hang out? What do we need to do to deliver value? And, our growth is largely an echo of that obsessive focus.
And your growth is well documented. You guys started Quest in 2010, am I right?
Yeah. And
I know you can give me the exact numbers, but it's 5,700% growth over the first 3 years or something?
57,000%.
Yeah, okay.
It was bonkers.
Okay, so what are a couple of the, the pitfalls or a couple of the challenges that you face when your company grows that fast? Because I know companies can grow too fast and it gets out of control and they lose like that personal touch, or what made them who they are.
Yeah, that's a great question. We are a culture-first company, so both internally and externally. The thing that's made us us is that we're a unique collective of people who really are obsessively focused on personal growth and then helping the customer. So the thing that keeps me awake and the thing that is most difficult about hyper growth like ours is hiring the right people fast enough. And hiring the wrong people will erode your company from the inside, because you've got to get people to buy into not just what their job is, which is easy enough because they've probably had a job similar to that in the past, but to get people to buy into the unique culture of your company. And we have a super weird culture here where I've never played in the NFL, so this might be a stretch, but you look at team sports at the highest level, And there's a just no bullshit reality to what has to happen in order for you to win. And we try to bring that into the company world and say, look, at the end of the day, there's a gap between who all of us are today and who we need to be to accomplish our mission. So if you start off every football season saying our goal ultimately is to win the Super Bowl, we start off saying we want to end metabolic disease. It's this absolutely massive goal. We think it's going to take us about 25 years to pull off. The only thing I know is I'm not the person I need to be to actually make that a reality yet. So I show up every day saying, okay, what are the skills, honestly, that I need to acquire in order to take a real step forward towards achieving that goal? And so we ask that of everybody here at the company to really honestly assess themselves and say, what are the skills that I'm going to need to acquire to meaningfully contribute to that goal? So people that like that, people that really want to grow, people that have a no BS attitude, they love it here. People that don't, they absolutely hate it. So we're very specific.
And how many employees do you guys have now?
About 1,400.
Are you guys your warehouse, what, El Segundo?
That's our headquarters. We manufacture out of City of Industry.
Okay. And are all those, how many guys do you have in your headquarters? How many?
Headquarters is just under 300.
Okay. And did you guys start in that building, or did you guys keep moving up?
Yeah, we've changed and changed and changed. So when we started, we were renting a commercial kitchen by the hour. We would go in, so we had a technology company. We would run the technology company by day, and at about 6:30, we'd finish that, and we'd go to this commercial kitchen, and with rolling pins, we would make the bars ourselves. And then we graduated to a facility in Compton, which was ever exciting, and our furniture were these orange buckets. That's actually true. In the very beginning, we didn't have chairs or anything. Then we moved out of there into Paramount, which is just adjacent to Compton. And then we were just growing so fast, we took over about half of a business complex in Paramount, California. And that was just crazy because it was like disjointed warehouses, and we were trucking stuff across parking lots. So then we finally got upgraded to a real facility in City of Industry, which was originally cut in half. Then we took over the whole thing. Then we took over 2 more facilities. So it's just the growth has been berserk.
And when you say we, who are you referring to?
So I have 2 business partners, 2 of my closest friends. I love these guys like brothers, Mike and Ron.
And they were in the software company with you as well?
Yeah, we've been business partners for 13 years.
Okay. And I know you've talked about, you guys had it all. You guys were making cash. You were doing well with that software company, but for whatever reason, what was it that you guys were lacking with that?
The truth is that, you talk about Tony Robbins, he really, he has an awesome concept, and it's the juxtaposition between doing something that makes you proud and hits goals, and then doing something that really fulfills you. And so we were hitting goals. We had set, an agreement that we were going to build this profitable company. We were going to, take this software company all the way to making all of our dreams come true, being wealthy and all that. And so we were getting there, and we were having success, and the software company was named as the 42nd fastest growing company in North America. And I'm looking at these guys. We're standing in this beautiful conference room overlooking the Pacific Ocean, and I'm like, I've accomplished so many of my financial goals, and I'm totally miserable. And it was so ironic because we were living the cliche of money can't buy happiness. And it was super ironic because we're 3 guys. We really understand the power of money. And here's the thing. I've never had an interest in swimming in my money like Scrooge McDuck. But money is such a powerful facilitator. Like, it can make things happen. And you look at what Bill Gates is doing with malaria. He's going to end malaria because he's got access to resources. So I knew that there was real power in money, not just sort of greedy self-interest, but there's real power in it. So why was I in this situation where I was making it and I was totally unhappy? And it was because there's a difference between momentary happiness and what I call framework happiness. And framework happiness is really about having significance and meaning in your life. And because we were just really clever marketers who had made and marketed a product that we didn't use in our own lives, we didn't necessarily believe in, it wasn't just security software. And we're not necessarily security-minded guys, so there was no passion in it. So it was literally for the money. And you really will come up empty if there's nothing beyond that. And that's something Tony talks really powerfully about. Look, if you make a lot of money, it's beautiful if it was in service of other people, right? If you're doing something amazing and you're delivering value and you get financial reward out of that, you can feel good about that. But if you're just grinding it out for the cash, you will come up empty. I know, because we did it. So at the height of our success, we said, all right, there's got to be something more to this. What would we do that we would love even if we were failing? And that became such an important question for us. And the answer was something in health and nutrition for 3 very different reasons. But we galvanized around that and launched Quest.
And to launch Quest, did you have to shut down the software company, or sell it, I should say?
We were pretty wise about that. I'll say we didn't just like light a match and burn it. I left first, so we sold the company. And upon selling it, we had a new CEO who had a controlling interest in the company. He and I didn't see eye to eye on what marketing was. So I said, look, and the way that he did business just didn't resonate with me. I'd gone through such a transformation and really believed in connecting with not only the customer but the employee. And he was laying people off and just really, really focused on the bottom line. And I said, I think there's one more person you need to fire. And he was like, who's that? And I said, me. And we came to an agreement, and I left and started Quest. And for the first year, Mike and Ron would work on Quest in their off hours, but they were still running the software company. And then one by one, we brought them over to Quest as it got its feet under it and was able to sustain us.
So that software company, though, it opened you guys up and gave you the freedom at least to explore this whole Quest deal, didn't it? To at least start it. Could you have started that from scratch and say you were straight out of college and had no money at all?
We could have, because our financial investment in the beginning was really, really small, and we really bootstrapped the company. We didn't bring on investors or anything like that. As we started growing, though, we were able to make choices that we probably otherwise wouldn't have been able to make if we didn't have the strength of those resources behind us. So very, very grateful for what that gave us. But honestly, in the beginning, for the first, let's call it 6 to 8 months, it was sub $10,000. So we managed to get it off the ground with very, very little investment.
What was like the turning point for you guys? Because I can imagine you said you were renting commercial kitchen space and making these bars. Like what put you guys over the top that made you think, like, okay, we can actually make this, and then bam, just exploded?
It was building fast for sure, but it was so grassroots and so hands-on. It was just about giving the bars away, delivering value, building a base of influencers, people who really understood what we had done nutritionally and that could speak to that. Because when we came on the scene, man, the protein bar industry was flooded with product. But the category had been declining for years. And when we went to bodybuilding shows like the Olympia or the Arnold, that first year, we literally could not get people we couldn't give them away. It was absolutely crazy. People saying, I don't eat protein bars, they're junk, they're junk, they're junk. And we're like, dude, we're famous for what we don't have. And that was our first marketing message, was to get people to understand, yeah, we don't eat protein bars either. That's why we launched this company. We've done something completely different. So that began to catch on. And there was no sort of day where we woke up and thought, oh my God, now it's real. It was just this snowball that just kept building, 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 because one person would try it and they would be evangelized. They would go to the next person, they would try it, so on and so forth.
Man, so it's a full go, like true grassroots story.
100%. And honestly, the smartest thing you can do if you're trying to launch a company is to figure out how you can deliver value, having a product that really meets a need, and then just focus your efforts on making that product awesome, and then build a company around that that's designed. If you think about Apple's done 2 things that we've really tried to emulate. They have awesome products, right? So you don't have to market your way out of that. They really are just great products. But on top of that, they made Apple stand for something. And so that's what we've tried to do, is make sure that the company stands for something. So largely our marketing message is about supporting a community of people who are trying to make big change in their life. So people feel that bond with the company.
And what all have you guys branched out into other than just the bars now?
The most interesting thing, and I think you're asking specifically products, which are protein chips and protein powder, and peanut butter cups, which is a totally underrated product that we have. But the thing that's most interesting that we're doing is we've gotten heavily into cancer research. So for us, we're absolutely sincere when we say that we're here to end metabolic disease. We have a hypothesis that cancer is a metabolic disease, that it's more related to epigenetics than it is to just straight up genetics. And while there's probably a genetic component, it's influenced so massively by what you eat, or at least that it can be influenced by what you eat from a treatment perspective, that we've gone hardcore into that. So about 2 years ago, we opened a 55-acre ranch in Texas. It's a canine sanctuary, and we're bringing in dogs to the tune of about $100,000 a dog to treat them with human-level diagnostics and treatment that have naturally occurring cancer, that were put on a kill list. We go track these dogs down, get them out of the kill shelter, bring them in, treat them with essentially a ketogenic diet. There's some other things we've added to the protocol just to find out, like, does this stuff work? And there's been just some really, really astonishing insights that we've gained out of that. We actually just helped sponsor a ketogenic conference last week that was utterly mind-blowing. Some of the stuff that's happening at the edges of nutritional science is astonishing, and I think it's going to have a major impact. The NFL, as I'm sure you're well aware, is really interested in ketogenics.
Oh, for sure. They're always trying to figure out, like, what makes guys perform better. I mean, they're less on the cancer side, at least for now. And
yeah,
how do you perform today, tomorrow, better than you did yesterday? But so if you guys are treating these dogs through their diet, is there a lot of carryover between if you're treating a dog for cancer compared to a human?
There is. So there's a big step from rats to dogs. There's another big step from dogs to humans for sure, but we wanted to get some directional information as to whether this was something to pursue in humans. So we created a 501c3 nonprofit organization called Epigenics, which is a play on epigenetics, which, if you know about epigenetics, basically saying that your environment and the choices that you make are as potent in terms of triggering the genetic coding that you have. So genetics basically says you have a predisposition for this, that, or the other. But epigenetics says, based on that predisposition and your environment and the choices that you make, will determine whether those genes are expressed or not. So getting that directional information as to whether this could be something that could be useful, it seems to be. So we're working with some leading researchers now to do a human study to find out what the impact of ketogenics is on humans who are suffering from cancer.
That's crazy, man. I didn't know about that. I've watched a lot of your interviews that you've given, and you've actually interviewed other people. I didn't know about the whole 55-acre dog ranch deal trying to cure cancer. I mean, you guys truly do live it. So, I mean, I think people see that and they see the passion that you have. Like, what made you start your show, the Inside Quest interview show? Yeah,
so for me, look, I've done the chase money thing, and it isn't for me. And maybe some people really resonate with it or whatever, but it's not for me. So that doesn't mean that I don't want to make money. I do, and making money is part of the plan, but it's not the goal, right? So I wanted to connect with a mission that really meant something to me, that I would wake up and fight, because the only promise I can make any human being is your life is going to get hard. I can't promise it'll be easy. I can't promise it'll be fun. I hope it is, but I can't promise that. But I can promise it's going to get hard at some point, right? And the only thing that carries you through is if you just connect with something, you believe in it, you're on fire inside, and you're just like hell-bent to make that happen, you will get up every day because you've got this compelling future. It's something you're so excited about, and you will just go all out to make it happen. And for me, 20 years ago, I felt like I was stuck in the Matrix. And I think in movie terms, right? I'm just a total movie buff. And I saw The Matrix, and I was like, oh my God, that put my life into perspective. And I finally had words to explain how I felt, right? I was Neo. I felt like my life could be more, it could be better, but something was holding me back, and I didn't know what that was. And it ended up being my own mindset. And so I started reading voraciously and just encountering incredibly powerful ideas that all basically culminate in Carol Dweck's amazing book, Mindset, where she outlines essentially, if you have a fixed mindset, you're going to do things to defend your current beliefs, your current actions, everything, because that's the only way you're going to be able to protect your self-esteem. And then there's a growth mindset, people who realize that they can be better, they can be more, they can learn, they can grow, and their traits aren't locked in stone, right? If you think I was born with a certain level of intelligence, a certain level of talent, and working my ass off isn't going to make them any better, then that's not a very powerful stance with which to approach the world. If, on the other hand, you believe this is totally malleable, my talents, my intelligence, everything can be changed through hard work and discipline, can be amplified, increased, that's way more powerful. So because that changed my life and took me from scrounging in my couch cushions for enough change to put gas in my car to founding and running an over $1 billion company, it's like I wanted to give that gift back to people because it changed not only my life, it changed my family's life. And it is the most powerful mindset shift that you can make. And so we finally had the resources to do something. And I am so hungry to see that moment of awakening in people where they go from feeling trapped or disappointed or stuck to realizing that, oh my God, like if I change one simple thing in my mind and realize that I control my own destiny. Have you read Extreme Ownership?
I have not.
Oh, dude, you're going to love it. It's by Jocko Willink and Leif Babbitt.
I listened to Jocko's podcast. I was listening to a few of his episodes today.
Yes, so that dude, fully legit. And his book really sums up part of what I'm trying to get across to people, which is the moment you stop making excuses and you say, okay, cool, there is a gap in skill set between who I am today and who I need to be to accomplish whatever, your life will get super, super powerful. So
that's why you started this show Inside Quest. That it's mainly on, where would you say, like, where would you want people to find it if they want to see it?
YouTube. Yeah, go to youtube.com/Inside Quest. Super awesome community of people that are there to encourage and push each other. It's been amazing.
And it's not a half-assed setup. I mean, you're sitting, people that are watching the video on YouTube right now of us, they can see the background. You're sitting on the set. Like, it's legit set up for a full go TV show, and you do a great job, obviously interviewing people, but it's a great production value too. I feel like you guys, and is the audience, is that people that work for you, or are those randoms?
We get a bit of both. So originally the show was going to be just for employees, and it was meant to, I made a promise to anybody that comes into this company that I'm going to work my ass off to make sure that Quest is the most beautiful thing that's ever happened to you. What that means to me is I'm going to give you an opportunity, a safe environment to make mistakes, to learn and grow. But with that, like, there's a mindset that they've got to learn, not to articulate, but to embody, right? And my big fear is that people will learn to articulate this stuff, like they could explain it, but they're not actually living it. So the idea with the show was, you're going to get numb to seeing me every day, right? So let me bring in these people that I want to learn from, that I think you'll be able to learn from, and let's show you my commitment to you guys. We're going to hustle. We're going to get these people in. We're going to talk about just really, really exciting stuff. And anytime you want to come, no matter what you've got going on from a company standpoint, you can stop and come in and check out these people that you're excited about. And it's been a cool way to give back. And obviously then, as we started doing it that way, if we're going to do it, then let's put this out on YouTube.
So did it start out just, when you started it out, was it for you bringing in to basically educate your employees on how you view things and how these other cool people that you just wanted to talk to?
Yeah, I mean, I am the eternal student. So if I'm honest, like, these were people I wanted to meet as well, and I wanted to sit across from, and I wanted to learn from.
That's why we started a podcast, man. That's what I do. My brother, I think, who you're going to talk to actually on his podcast, like, it's,
yes,
you get to talk to your heroes and mentors and people that you think are very smarter than you and funnier and cooler, and just people that are interesting, and you start a podcast and you can actually talk to them.
Yeah, the podcast medium, man, has really gotten awesome. So, and really cool people are willing to come on, and it's just become this super neat community of people, like meeting you and then getting connected with your brother, and we got connected through Ryan Holiday. I mean, there really is like this super cool group of people behind the scenes that are sort of putting all these people together, and I am eternally grateful to them.
Exactly, and the thing is, the market can't get flooded. Like, they can put 5 billion podcasts out, which there is a lot of them out now. But the thing is, it doesn't matter. There's room for everyone because I don't have to listen. I don't have to watch. It's not like it's NBC's time slot. It's not NBC versus ABC and CBS. Like, there's unlimited space, and I can just scroll through and subscribe to the podcast I want to. And if I'm not subscribed, I'll search the list of, like, the top categories I want, and see if they have a cool guest that I may like, and then bam, I like this guy's podcast, and might drop another one if I don't think they're keeping my interest. So it's like, there's never there's not competition, I wouldn't call it. People that don't understand podcasting and don't understand, like, what's going on the internet, they think it's like if someone starts it and has a successful podcast or a show like that online or YouTube, that's going to take away from them. Like, no, man, this actually should open you up exponentially to many more viewers, because their viewers will become yours, and you'll listen to this one, and then bam, I've been watching Inside Quest because I remember Ryan Holiday telling me about you. I had him on, and he's introduced me to people, and my brother introduces me to all these people. It's a cool world now that's going on, and just tons of info out there and education that it's out there, and it's up to us to actually go and find it.
For sure. And one of the cool things is, like, you and I could take the exact same people and each interview them both, and we would come out with totally different interviews. So the one of the really cool things about podcasting is you get these unique personalities, right? So you can be exactly you. You can do the exact show you want to do. It's not an expensive production, so you don't have advertisers that you've got to please. And that's just created this really cool medium.
It's created like authenticity, I think,
100%.
In a long form setting where you don't have to break every 3.5 minutes to talk about something. I mean, there's all kind of advertisers on podcasts now, but hopefully it's the beginning and the end, and you don't have to interrupt the great conversation going on throughout the whole thing. But yeah, you don't have a boss staring over top of you and getting worried if someone cusses or someone says something that's going to offend his aunt. I don't know, man. It's just it's a weird world. My brother and I always have these conversations about people that don't follow podcasting. Like, we don't understand what people do that don't listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I do in my car or when I'm falling asleep, whatever. It's just nice, man. It's cool. And you can learn from all these weird people that I would never be connected to if it wasn't for this whole new medium.
For sure.
So I don't know where it's going to go, but one of the talks that I'm not joking. So I watched your process of interviewing Tony Robbins at his house, which, yeah, you got to be kidding me, man, with that view of his, was that off his like back patio?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay. So I even watched a little behind the scenes thing when you were in the van riding to his house.
Yeah.
Which you could tell how genuinely like excited you were. And I loved the talk. Like, Tony just took it away. I could see like how you were like eating it up. You were just so in the zone listening to his responses. But what was really cool to me, I don't know if you've watched it and noticed this, but when you were talking about the beginning, you right before you gave this intro, you talked about your whole life, how you were unhappy in this software company, making money, doing well, and then how you've pulled yourself up and you started Quest, and bam, and like how your life has turned around, and guys like Tony and were inspirational to you. I don't know if you've watched how he was looking at you while you were saying that. Have you rewatched that?
I have watched it, yeah.
He was looking at you like a proud dad. It was cool to see, man. It was really cool to see, because I could see how pumped you were to be there. But then I saw him. He was like, he was genuinely like really excited, and it was almost, he was like touched with how you were speaking about him and how you were speaking about your life.
Yeah, I'm not a bashful guy about the people that have impacted me. And look, Tony and I had never met until that day. But he had a really big impact on my life. And I tell people, look, you got to open yourself up to being changed, right? You're encountering all the same ideas that I'm encountering. I'm just letting them change me, and I'm letting them change the way that I act in the world. So when I approach every day and every person with the fundamental belief that I can get better, that person has some piece of information that can really impact me. And when you meet somebody like Tony with that attitude, all of a sudden they just open up new ideas in your head about how you could be acting, and he's been on my radar for more than 15 years. Just a super powerful influence in my life, and I'm all about telling people I want to express my gratitude to them. You know what I mean? Like, look, this guy doesn't have to put that kind of stuff out in the world. He's a smart guy. He could have made his money in business quietly behind the scenes, kept the secrets to himself. I mean, the stuff that he learned in Money Master the Game, I don't know if you read that, but the book is just powerful and it's spot on. And he didn't need to do that. He's already ridiculously wealthy. And then second, he doesn't need to write books. Like, he makes the vast majority of his money through his seminars. And I think he even donated every dime of proceeds from that book to feeding people. So literally, this is just a dude that wants to give to people. And it's such a cool way to respect that by showing your gratitude. So to me, that intro was so special to me because I wanted to let him know how he'd impacted me.
Now, just for, you don't have to tell me if you don't want, are you reading any of these intros off a prompter?
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, okay, good. I was gonna say,
Yeah.
I'm like, if this dude is this out the top of his head, and he just had an outline, and he's okay, good.
No,
Okay.
so and in the beginning, I memorized them, and I thought it is taking me so much time just to write them is bad enough. To memorize them on top of it, I was like, guys, look, I can do better intros if you let me read it off a teleprompter. Because good lord. So yeah, no,
Okay.
I write them all, but
Okay,
they
good.
they are not impromptu. I'm sad to report.
Man, no, that's good. That would take up your whole life if you memorized every one of those. Like how pretty powerful when you do it. But with your talk with him, like how long from start to finish was the process of like reaching out to him to actually going to his house and doing that interview?
That was pretty fast. So other guests have not been that way, but I met Peter Diamandis, who is another guy that just tremendously impacted my life. And I wrote him a letter after. So I met Rainn Wilson. Rainn knows Peter, and he said, look, I can make an introduction. He made the introduction, which I'll be eternally grateful to Rainn for that. I wrote Peter a letter explaining why I wanted to have him on the show. He came on. He was like our first sort of just mega guest. And he came on and we connected, man, like in a real way. Just the way that guy's mind works is so powerful to me. And so we started a friendship, and he said that he had just a really, really great time on the show. And he said, basically, you can have a big ask. What can I do for you? And I said, get Tony Robbins on the show. So he said, no problem. He wrote the most like effusive email over the top about what a great time he had on the show, the respect that he had for me. So Tony then called me up and said, Peter doesn't make a lot of introductions, so when he does, I take them very seriously. Would love to do it. Had us out to his house, and that happened pretty quickly.
Okay, I wondered that watching it, because it is like it's a big deal for him to let your crew into the house and set up and do that. I mean, it didn't. I'm sure it took a while. It was over an hour of you guys talking. So before and after, like, was that almost like a surreal moment showing up to his place?
Man, I wouldn't say that it's surreal. It's like when you've got intention in your life and you focus on something so much and you take so many specific steps to make it come true, it is awesome. And I try to really think about what's happening to me in the moment. So I was very aware of how cool it was and how excited I was to be there. But I wasn't like, oh my God, somebody pinched me, I'm dreaming. I'd worked my ass off to get to that point.
Oh, and it shows. You definitely prepped, and it was just yeah, it was really cool. For anyone that hasn't seen it, go check it out on your Inside Quest YouTube channel, man. Tony Robbins, whew, it was great. And Rainn Wilson, I mean, I've watched every episode of The Office maybe 30 times. So yeah, Rainn was really cool. I know with Soul Pancake and a lot of the stuff he has going on, like what a cool, interesting dude he was, and you really seemed to open him up a lot.
He is a phenomenal human being, and I've gotten to know him a little bit outside as well. Went to Soul Pancake, spent some time with him and Shabnam, who's the CEO of Soul Pancake. That dude is soulful, man, and you would never know from being a comedian. You think, oh, like these are these guys that are sort of wounds and they laugh to cover it up. Man, not him. That dude is for real. He is an incredible, incredible human being.
He was. If you had to, who's like your dream guest that you haven't had on yet?
I'd love, there's a few people. I'm going to give you maybe the weirdest one, but somebody that's really had an impact on me is Jay-Z. Would love to get him on the show. He is such the American dream to me. To go from street hustler to true entrepreneur is breathtaking. And then linguistically, he's just unparalleled. The ideas he's able to get across in rhyme and meter it's hard enough just to say these ideas, let alone make them rhyme. So he's somebody that I respect on a whole lot of levels, and have met some of the people around him, have gotten to know one of the, I believe he's the president of Jay-Z's company, just a great dude named Michael Yormark, who is so cool. What a great guy. And just speaks to the kind of person that Jay-Z surrounds himself with. Elon Musk is another guest that I would absolutely love to get on the show. There's a lot of authors that have had a big impact. Stephen King, who I owe a debt of gratitude to. That's a whole long story, but would love to get him on the show. A lot of amazing people that right now we're reaching out to try and get on.
Okay, and when you have these set up, they send like a memo out to everybody at the company of who you're going to have on and how many seats you have. And I'm sure people it gets overbooked, or do you have room for everybody?
No, sometimes it's standing room only, first of all, and then we've had to turn people away. We've just had some truly incredible guests. Faraz Zahabi, I don't know if you know who that is, legendary MMA coach. Who, man, he was just a company favorite. People were lined up to check that one out, and that guy did not fail to deliver. He is the modern day Bruce Lee. If anybody watching your show doesn't already know who he is, Faraz Zahabi's George St. Pierre's MMA coach. He is, man, that dude is for real. He is able to go from like philosophy to violence so fast and so amazingly, but the violence not in an uncontrolled like thug manner. Like he has a spiritual approach to mixed martial arts, to violence, to the need to center yourself from a position of calm strength. He is the modern incarnation of Bruce Lee. So if you respond to Bruce Lee, Faraz Zahabi is your man. That guy is unparalleled.
All right, I've been aware of him, but I've never really looked into it, so I'm definitely going to. Bruce Lee, man, I love everything about it. I read Bruce Lee quotes to my kids at night when I put them to bed. So yeah, that's something I'm definitely checking out. That made me think of something you said earlier when you said you were at that software company. You guys are overlooking the Pacific Ocean in this awesome conference room, and you knew you were truly unhappy, and you wanted to do something to give you like framework happiness, as you call it. What, like, when you say you're unhappy, what exactly do you mean? Was it terrible to be around you, or just in your mind where you went home and knew something just wasn't right?
I went home and knew something wasn't right. I ached for something. And I know what it is now, but at the time it was a little more mysterious, and it is meaning and significance. I wanted to know that the things that I'm doing matter. I'm a guy, I like to connect with people. Even though I'm actually introverted, I use extroverted techniques because they're so powerful. But I'm an introverted guy. But one thing, dude, I connect with people, and I connect on a for real level, and that's really meaningful to me. And there actually is an opportunity for that in business now, especially with social media, where you can put out your true and authentic self and find like-minded people that just push you and encourage you. And I will be frank, I live for that moment of awakening in somebody where they went from thinking that life happened to them to realizing they can control their own destiny. And to play some small part in that is way more meaningful to me than wealth creation, for sure, like far and away.
Okay, I was thinking your show. So when you do Inside Quest there from your headquarters, it reminded me of what like company my dad works for called LexisNexis, and I've actually gone and spoke there, do like just a Q&A type thing, and every month or so they have speakers come in into like a little auditorium they have, and people that work there can come down at their lunch break, whatever time it is, and listen to the speaker, and the company like pays the speaker to come in, all that. But what you're doing is in the vein of that, I feel like, where you're almost educating, giving your employees something to do, but it's like on steroids times 5,000, because it's you leading the charge and bringing in these awesome people that have a name usually and definitely have an awesome message.
Yeah, to me, man, you have to lead by example, and the greatest example I could paint for people is to learn. And if they see me learning and growing, and like I had one of my employees write to me and say, one of the most meaningful things you ever did was XYZ, and the XYZ was, I'm interviewing somebody, I forget now who it was, and they said a word that I didn't know. And I stopped them and I said, if you don't mind, could you please explain that word to me? I don't know it. And for the employee, that was just like, whoa, he admitted something that he didn't know. And for me, like, I've gotten where I've gotten because I'm never afraid to look stupid. Like, I'm never afraid to admit what I don't know, because how else are you going to get where you want to go? You're not going to get there by posturing. You're going to get there by really learning, gritting it out, grinding it out. And I gave up looking cool a very long time ago. And once I gave up trying to look cool, I actually started to learn. I actually started to get better. And I tell people all the time, you're not judged by your intentions, you're judged by your results. And if you don't stop and really look at where you're weak and get excited to fill those weaknesses, you're just never going to advance. So that's such a powerful thing for me, and to be able to show that, to share with the employees here my hunger for knowledge, my true desire to get better, to improve, to admit my weaknesses, and just let them watch me claw my way to a better version of myself.
Oh, wow. And so you're, as the leader, you're not scared to look vulnerable.
No, not at all. And if you've read Brene Brown, I think there's real power in that. People connect with you more. You not only seem real, you are real. You know what I mean? Like, look, at the end of the day, I have just as many insecurities as anybody else. But when you look at quotes about courage, and I'm gonna paraphrase it. It's so famous. You can drop it in. Being brave or being courageous is not the absence of fear. It's acting in the face of fear, right? So that's what I really want people to see, is that I don't need to pretend to look cool, but you can count on me 100%. When the shit hits the fan, I will be there, and I will act decisively, and I will be first. I will be out front. I will take those bullets. Like, you will never see me back down. That doesn't mean I'm not afraid. It just means that I hold myself to a certain standard, and that is I will act.
Wow, that's powerful, man. It really is. And I would imagine your employees I would like to see in a leader, a boss that I had, I would love to see a guy act, be vulnerable. And I think that's something, I mean, in the crazy sports world, guys are scared to death to be vulnerable. Like, that's the number one thing, is like, look tough, act tough. And then when you really get down to it, a lot of times some of the guys that are the loudest, acting the toughest, are the guys with the biggest insecurities ever. For sure. And you can just see it. Like, you can feel it coming from them, and almost I feel bad for them sometimes. Yeah. Do you hear that scratch? I'm sorry.
I don't know.
Whenever you start talking, there's a weird scratching something on your mic. I don't know what it might be.
Oh, I bet is it just started?
Yeah. No, it's been going a little bit. It might be. There it is. It's hitting your deal.
Yeah, let me take that off. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's all right. I just wanted to make sure we don't keep it going the whole time. Okay, we're good.
Yeah. All right. Hopefully that's better.
Marcus Lemonis, have you watched him on
Yes. Yeah.
So Marcus, I mean, I was aware of him because of the show The Prophet, and then he's just, made tons of money. And he, one of his main things I've listened to him in speaking is about being vulnerable. When he sat in front of a huge group of people he was talking to, he would go around and point to them and make these people in front of the whole room of maybe 1,000 people say something that they were insecure about or scared of, or right in that moment. But he shared first what he was insecure about, or something that made him vulnerable, and they all instantly connected.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I sort of get it. If you're feeling insecure, you want to protect anybody from seeing that, but humans are so perceptive. They pick up on the fact, like you were saying, like you see these guys being loud and boisterous, but you're not fooled, and you actually start to feel a little bit bad for them. I think, honestly, if you're a performer, if you kill it, if you show up every day and you're just busting your ass to be great at your job, to get better every day, to not let your ego get in the way of things, people respect that. First of all, everybody respects performance, right? So if you're great at your job and you're constantly trying to improve, people are going to see that. But on top of that, if they see that you don't let your ego get in your way, you let your guard down, you let your defenses down, people really respect that. And one of the ways that I built my reputation early on, when I was just a copywriter and I was trying to work my way up, was I said to myself, I'm going to become the fastest person in human history to admit when they were wrong. And people began to really respect that, because what happens is, when you believe you're right and you fight for it, no one thinks you're just being an asshole. Nobody thinks that, like, man, here we go again. This guy will fight for any bad idea just because it's his. If you, the last 10 times, 9 of those times, you were like, you know what, actually, you're absolutely right. I am wrong. I totally believe in what you're saying. Guys, what he's saying is amazing. We've got to do that. The one time that you're like, no, man, I'm right. Let me tell you why I'm right. People really stop and listen, because they know that it's not your ego talking.
Can you give us a specific example of one time when you did admit you were wrong, like at your work?
Ooh, yeah, I'm wrong virtually every day. So let me think of something that's happened today. So in marketing a lot of the things that you do, like, you never know if something is going to work. And so we had an ad that we wanted to try, and I thought the ad was absolutely terrible. I didn't think it was going to play, and my marketing guy was like, look, let me just try it. So, hey, you know what? Go ahead, try it. Now, the results came back. It was like marginally better. And at that moment, I could have been like, see, I told you it was garbage. Or go, let's try it. Can we tweak it? Can we push it and see if we can make it better? And so we're in the middle of that experimentation. That's not like a blatant one where I fell on my face. Man, June, when was the last time I was like out and out wrong and just fell on my face? June will have something for me. What you got, June?
What about with your wife?
Oh,
those are tough. Sometimes those are tough. Oh my God,
perfect. Just today, my friend. My wife, my wife and I work together. That's important to note. So a lot of times that line can get blurred, and I want to treat my wife like my employee, and that never goes well. So my wife pointed out that I was really being abrupt, and I wasn't listening, and I wasn't making her feel safe emotionally, and that's a big deal, right? We all want to feel safe emotionally with that person that we're totally tied to. And in that moment, it's like you're so invested, you're trying to get this done, and I was literally telling her, you shouldn't feel that way, right? You shouldn't be frustrated by XYZ. And she was like, this is how that makes me feel. And I was like, you know what, you're absolutely right. I totally recognize that. I was trying to push you to change your mind because I didn't want to have to feel bad. Which is usually why people try to change somebody's mind, because it attacks something in them, and realize that, yeah, it was making me feel badly about myself as a husband, but that wasn't going to fix the issue. So on a dime, I was like, you know what, you're totally right. I take it all back. I just want to hear you. I want to see where you're at, see what we can do to address it.
Now, that sounds great for all of us listening, but like, how do we actually implement that? Like, sometimes it's not that easy to admit you're wrong.
Yeah, it's never easy to admit that you're wrong, but I'll give you the secret. And this right now, if people actually do what I say, it will change their life forever and for the better. Everybody has to have self-esteem. Everybody. So people will tell me, oh my gosh, you don't have an ego. That's a lie. I have a huge ego. It's raging. But I build my ego around something anti-fragile. And if you've read the book Anti-Fragile by Nassim Taleb, he says anti-fragile isn't strong or resilient, because something that's strong or resilient still ultimately breaks. Something that's anti-fragile gets stronger the more you attack it. So most people build their self-esteem around being right, being good at something, being talented, being smart. That's super fragile, right? Because inevitably you're going to meet someone stronger, faster, better, smarter. And in that moment, now it's going to diminish your self-esteem. And in the business world, it usually comes in the form of an idea. Somebody throws out an idea. Now, the chances of that idea being perfect are virtually zero, but I see people all the time fight for really bad ideas that they're just fighting for because it was theirs. And if they can convince the world that their idea was right, they get the self-esteem hit of, I was right, I was smart, I was good, whatever it is, that very fragile thing that they build their self-esteem around. And I used to do that, 100%, totally fixed mind. I thought, I'm as smart as I'm ever going to be. If I can't win this argument right now, it's going to diminish me as a person. It means I'm not as smart as the person that I'm arguing with. It means that I'm not as good of a person as the person I'm arguing with. And so you fucking get so defensive trying to like, no, I'm going to win this argument because I have to prove that I'm good, valuable, smart, whatever. And I remember one time, this is actually with Mike and Ron, I was wrong, and I knew I was wrong, and I kept arguing, and I actually convinced them that I was right. And I was like, oh shit, what now? Because I just convinced them that I'm right about an idea that's wrong, and my stated goal at the time was I want to get rich. Now, if I really wanted to get rich, which at the time I really did, then convincing these guys of a bad idea does not move me towards my goal. So at that moment, I literally had to decide, what are you really here for? Are you here to feel good about yourself, or are you here to get rich? And I said, I'm here to get rich. Okay, well, if that's true, I need to act in accordance with my goals. And I realized at that moment, I need to feel good about myself while I'm pursuing my goals. So what could I switch my self-esteem to that would allow me to always be progressing towards my goals? And I realized instead of trying to be right, I should build my self-esteem around identifying the right answer faster than anyone else. So being willing to admit when I'm wrong, because then I can be like, yeah, that's the right answer, and putting energy behind that and showing people I'll switch on a dime when I have reason to believe that somebody else's idea is better than mine. And that changed everything about my life, because now you can judge every decision you make as to whether or not it moves you towards your goals. And if it moves you towards your goals, you do it. If it moves you away from your goals, you don't do it. But you've got to position your self-esteem in a way that facilitates that.
Okay, so what if you're around somebody that is one of those people that, will take it to the death, that even though in their mind, deep in their heart, they know what they're pitching, what they're saying is a terrible idea, but no matter what, they're going to convince themselves that they're right. And you obviously are a guy that you've proven that if you are arguing for something, and you think you're right, then there's a good chance you are, and you're going to take that to the death too. Like, how do you guys resolve that?
It really depends on the person. So
you could fire the person. That's a good thing.
Yeah, oddly enough, unless they really keep at it, I wouldn't. And the reason that I wouldn't do that is this has to be a culture where as long as they're willing to address it, learn, and grow, we're good. Now, if they keep doing it and they refuse to hear that that's not helping them and moving them towards their goals, they're just not going to be good at their job. And so then you can let them go for that. But I've addressed that problem here through culture. So we have a 25-point belief system, which you can find that on InsideQuest.com. And the 25-point belief system is my most sincere attempt to give people everything they need to change about the way that they think in order to succeed in whatever they want to succeed in. And one of those is what I was saying about, building your self-esteem. If they are just hell-bent to protect their ego, right? You've heard about the psychological immune system. So when somebody feels attacked, the psychological immune system kicks in. It will find a way to soothe them and make them feel good about themselves. Normally what people do is they say, I'm smart. If this guy doesn't agree with me, he's dumb, right? So you get taller by making other people shorter rather than just outperforming them. And honestly, if somebody's dead set in their ways with that, man, there's nothing you can do. Until they change the way that they think about their own self-esteem, they will forever battle for really stupid ideas. And at that point, I'm using judo, jujitsu, however you want to think about it, of using their energy against them. So rather than a full frontal assault of trying to punch them in the face, I'm going to deflect their energy and just move past it. Because at the end of the day, one idea is going to work and another idea isn't. So because I'm very open to that person, even if they're egotistical, and this is another powerful lesson, separate the message from the messenger. Even if I know somebody's totally insecure, totally arrogant, they're pushing their agenda probably because they just want to be right, I'll really stop and look at the validity of their argument. Like even people that come and out assault me as a person, call me names, tell me I'm stupid, whatever, I'll stop and listen and think, wow, is there a point in there that's usable? All the while smugly laughing to myself that the very thing that makes me powerful is when people attack me, they point out a weakness in my game, I don't let it affect my ego, I identify what's usable, I take it, and I grow more powerful as a result, right? So when people can do that, when even the people trying to assail you and tear you down only serve to build you up, it's such a powerful way to think about your self-esteem.
Is that something that you've always had, or is that a constant learning process?
Dude, constant learning purpose. I used to be the most terrified, insecure, fixed-minded person ever. And it honestly was finally when that came to heads with my goals that I had to say, okay, wait a second. Am I really trying to do, again, it was to get rich at the time. I was like, am I really trying to get rich or not?
There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with that goal, though, to get rich.
The way that I was doing it was super stupid. So just as a reminder to me that the way I did it, the way to pursue wealth is to bring value to other people. If wealth comes to you as a result of that, hell yeah. And it's amazing. And money is more effective and powerful than you think. I am not bashful about wealth creation at all. It was merely the way that I was doing it. But yeah, so it's very powerful.
And by the way you say you were doing it, are you saying just because you didn't use the product, you didn't really believe in the product, that was bad? Or are you saying you guys were not treating people the right way and trying to go behind people's backs and make deals, or what?
No, not at all. We weren't dodgy, to use my wife's very British term. We didn't make one simple demand. We made one fundamental mistake. You can make the demand that you're going to get rich doing what you love. We did not make that demand. So I was doing something I didn't care about. So it was bringing money. But dude, at the end of the day, so here's the analogy that I use. There's two superheroes that are incredibly meaningful to me. Batman, because he is not superhuman. He's had to train his way and just work his ass off to gain skills and use his intellect and ability to grow both mentally, emotionally, and physically to accomplish these superhero-like things. And then there's Superman. And Superman is the perfect allegory to me for following your passion. If you take Superman out of the yellow sun, he's an ordinary person. You put him in the yellow sun and all of a sudden he has all these superpowers. I think humans are like that with passion. If you remove somebody from their passion, they're not as effective, they're not as tenacious, they don't come up with as many resources as they otherwise would. You put them in an area where they believe in what they're doing, where they are emotionally invested and connected to what they're trying to accomplish, and they just have the fervor of somebody who is on fire with passion. They're more resourceful, they're more fun to be around, they're just more apt to overcome the myriad challenges that everybody gets thrown at them.
So what do you do with when you're hiring people? I imagine the culture of Quest kind of takes over and runs itself after a while. That's kind of like a great team. The coach doesn't have to sit there and yell at guys and whatever. You bring the guys in and they kind of just, they're all their own individuals, but they all kind of mold and they buy into the culture, the winning culture that it may be. And I would imagine at Quest, that culture is very strong. But what do you say to say someone that's starting out an entry-level job at Quest and they love it, they're super passionate, you're their leader, so this has got to be so fun, it's this great atmosphere, but they also want to do their own thing sometime. Like, I want my own Quest. I want my own company like this. Not about the money, but just about like the culture, and they want to be in your shoes at their own company. What do you say to those people?
Yeah, I say a lot to those people. So people have to be very, very careful. If you come to me and say that you want to, because people come to me a lot and they say, look, I want to achieve my goals. I never try to foist my goals upon somebody. So one of the rules or one of the points in the belief system is you should be at Quest for the exact number of days that we're moving you towards your goals. So I want people to be here for selfish reasons. I don't want them to be here to make my company better, to make me richer. They shouldn't be worrying about me. I'll worry about me. I want them thinking about themselves and coming here just filled with passion for whatever weird reason we're the right place for them to be. That's fantastic. But if you come to me and you say, look, I want to be in your position in 5 years or 10 years, that's a whole another game. And the answer to that question starts with, then you need to be prepared to change everything about who you are, how you think of yourself, and how you think of the world. Because the radical transformation that I had to go to from blaming other people for the station that I had in life to blaming myself and only myself for everything that happened. I'll give you a great example. I've told this story before. It's the most powerful story I can think of, and I say it to myself all the time. Let's say my wife were in London and she was visiting her mother. She's in the bedroom that she grew up in. The doors are locked. The alarm's on. I'm in LA. Right at that moment, a meteorite comes screaming through the atmosphere, smashes into her bedroom and kills her. Whose fault is that? And when you ask people that question, they all say fate, divine providence, dumb luck, whatever it is that they believe in, but it's always something like that. If they try to guess at what they think, I think the answer is they're going to say, oh, it's my wife's fault. But the only answer is that it's my fault entirely. Now, why is it my fault? It's my fault because it doesn't do me any good to blame anybody else, because then I'm a victim and I'm not in control. So the only thing that serves me is to think of all the ways I could have done something. Now, everything I'm about to tell you is true. There is a group of people that track what are called near-Earth objects. They're doing it right now. I know they exist. I've never once called them up to give them ideas. I've never sent them a dime of my money. I've never even sent them an email with encouraging words, right? Even though I know they exist. And I know that there's some slight chance that somebody I care about could be hit by a meteorite. But I think that the chances are so small that my time and energy are better spent other places. But if that decision, and yes, it's a decision, even choosing to not act is a decision, if that comes back to bite me in the ass, I'm not going to waste any time blaming somebody else. I'm only going to look at the things that I could have chosen differently to have a different outcome. When you take it to that absurd extreme, and people get pissed at me when I say that that's my fault, because then the amount of ownership that places on them in their own life, they're just not ready for. But when you're ready to take on that ownership, right, everything in your life changes, because now you can get excited about getting that next new skill or making a different choice next time if you choose to, but you're never a victim. Doesn't mean you won't be victimized. I totally get that, and being victimized sucks, but at least you don't have to play the role of the victim, and you can choose to act differently.
Okay, that's some heavy stuff to put on yourself. I feel like, though, how do you at the same time keep that self-esteem you talked about? If something like that, let's say the meteorite comes in and bam, hits your wife, how does that not just kill you as a person inside, though, when you put it all on yourself?
All right, AJ, you ready? Because I don't know if people can hear me when I say this. I'm going to give you the truth, man. This is the truth.
Please.
When you can look at your weaknesses and your failures and acknowledge that having the guts to stare nakedly at your weaknesses and failures makes you a badass human being, and that you should be proud of yourself for being willing to look at your weaknesses and failures, then you can look at those things like, because look, if my wife gets killed for any reason, I'm going to be devastated, man. I'm going to be devastated at the loss because I love that woman more than you can imagine. But I want to retain control in my life of my actions. And I don't ever want someone to tell me that I didn't have a choice in anything. And look, do I know that there's some things that are out of my control? Of course. But does it help me to say that? No. It helps me to remember that what makes me unique and powerful and will make me grow over time is my willingness to look at where I could have made a better choice without damaging my self-esteem. Because you have to understand, I don't look at that stuff to beat myself up, and I don't beat myself up because of everything I do and believe, right? That's the important part. Of everything I allow myself to believe about somebody else, about myself, I ask one simple question. Does it move me towards my goals or not? If believing that I'm a stupid idiot moves me towards my goals, then I'll believe it. But if it doesn't, I won't. So unless my goal is to feel so shitty about myself that I commit suicide, I'm not going to spend a lot of time believing that I'm a dumb idiot. I may believe that I chose poorly, that I chose stupidly, but I don't beat myself up because it doesn't move me towards my goals.
Man, you're like Tony Robbins over here for me. I'm juiced. You get me. It's exciting listening to you speak. So yeah, I appreciate the great. I don't know, man. It's inspirational. It really is, your whole message. And I know you're very, very well read, and you're reading all the time. I know Ryan Holiday told me you like to read. What are you reading right now?
Extreme Ownership. By Jocko and Leif. That book has me all charged up, man. That resonates so powerfully with me and really gave me that phrase, extreme ownership, because I did not have those words. And to hear it put into a military context and business context and the way they juxtapose those is incredibly powerful.
Did you listen to Jocko on Tim Ferriss's podcast? I
haven't heard it yet. I've listened to Jocko's own podcast, but I haven't heard him on Tim Ferriss yet.
He was great. So it's so weird, man. Just today, I listened to the episode. Jocko went on Sam Harris's podcast, and I listened
to that.
Talked about violence. How good was that?
It may be the single greatest podcast episode I've ever heard. That was amazing.
Oh God, and like how Jocko speaks, like he's so calm in his demeanor, and he's so slow, his delivery. It's like they ask him a question, and it's just dead silence. And you got to see if your phone broke for a second or listen to it, because he's thinking of it, and then bam, his message is so thought out and so just battle tested. I mean, my brother was just texting me today asking me if I had read Jocko's book. It's crazy that you brought it up, and that's what you're reading at the time. I haven't got it yet because I'm trying to go full. I'm trying to switch back. I went from the reading, my normal old school books, and then I got a Kindle, started reading on a Kindle, and now I've been reading on an iPad, and now I'm switching all back to the real thing, man. So I need to get to the store and actually buy Jocko's book, or just get it on Amazon. But
yeah,
do you read the real book, or do you read online or listen to audio?
I do audiobooks, man. For me, I'm a very slow reader. So you want to talk about being vulnerable? I am like, it's embarrassing how slow I read, but I can take in auditory information so fast because I've trained myself to. So I listen to audiobooks at 3x.
Oh God, I was going to ask that. Wow.
Yeah.
3x?
3x. I would go faster, but it won't let you go faster. And here's the thing: when I started, I couldn't. Right?
It's like the Micro Machine. It's like the Micro Machine guy.
Yes.
No one. That's an old people's reference. The kids listening don't know what we're talking about. Yeah.
It is exactly like the Micro Machines guy. Yeah.
Oh, so that's how you consume all of your books right now?
Yeah, 100%. Just because it's the fastest way to get the information.
Yeah, it is. I've tried to listen to it at like 1.5 or 2 times the speed, and I can do it for a while, and then I got to every once in a while I got to dial it back to just normal speed, just because it's just how
But think about when you first went into the gym, right? Like you couldn't lift a certain weight, or you could only do one rep, but you kept at it and you kept making that new demand of yourself, right? I'm not going to do it twice the time, I'm going to do it 3 times. I'm not going to do 400 pounds, I'm going to do 405 pounds. That's exactly what it was for me with speeding up the books. At first it was 1.5 and I was like, oh my God, like I can't quite hear what they're saying. And then all of a sudden it was like, wait, did I bump something? Is it back to 1? Oh no, it's still at 1.5. So I'd push it to 2. And then 2 was like, oh man, this is unintelligible. And then again, you'd be like, did I bump it? Now it's like that at 3. At 3x, I'm convinced sometimes that I bumped it and it's back to 1. Your brain will adapt the way the body does.
Is that a good thing, you think, to listen to these books that fast? Or is it an individual basis? The people that can actually digest it can only do that.
Here's the thing. When you start, you won't be able to digest it. If I can impart anything on people, it is that by nature, I am chubby, intellectually slow, lazy as the day is long. I just happen to be ambitious, and I had the drive to get better. So I can't help people that aren't ambitious, right? If you don't have a dream or anything that you're interested in, I'm not your guy. I can't help you with that. If you're not prepared to develop the discipline, because I didn't have it in the beginning, I had to develop it. But if you're not prepared to develop the discipline to get better at things, again, I can't help you. But if you've got ambition and drive, I'm your man. Because, dude, the mind is exactly like the body. And we all know anybody that puts in the time in the gym and makes the right choices with their diet, they will get bigger. And if you're not getting bigger, it is patently because you're not doing the right thing. The mind is exactly like that. If you're not able to comprehend things faster, you're not doing the right thing. Like, you're just not putting in the time. Anyone can do it. And it pisses me off. Right, I can show you my before and after because I used to be fat. So I can show you me at 230 pounds, and I can show you me with shredded abs, and people are like, ooh, but I can't show you a picture of me undereducated, slow intellect, and me now. People just see me now and think, oh, like you must have been, always showing promise. My own mother, who's my biggest cheerleader, my mom loves me, always encouraged me, she's amazing. But I once asked why she pushed me out of the nest because my mom is so desperate to get me to move back home. If I would, she would take it. And she said, oh, I just always thought you were going to fail. So my own mother, who always wanted great things for me, just assumed I would fail. I did not show early signs of being able to accomplish what I've accomplished.
How does she feel now and how do old friends feel when you've said you've made this absolute drastic shift in your life from going from this guy that you said you're lazy and all this stuff, inherently, and then boom, what you have now, this super energetic, inspiring guy. How do they feel seeing what you're like now compared to what you used to be?
Oh man, I haven't really stayed in contact with a lot of my friends from back in the day. So I'm going to guess they'd be a little bit surprised, but I think everything with hindsight, people now would say, oh yeah, it's self-evident because it happened, right? But if you had asked them this 10 years ago, then I think people would have given you answers like my mom. Everyone thought I was going to go and be a stand-up comic. I'm sure there's some people from my high school that think that I'm a struggling comic somewhere in America here. So
they do, yeah. Well, look at you now, Tom. Look what you're doing, man. And you're young. How old are you now?
39.
Gosh, man. All these, there's maybe it's just because we're aware of it, but there's a boom of young guys just killing it now. Young women and men that are just dominating the business world, I feel like.
Yeah, honestly, I really think the access to information is unparalleled, and people like you that are taking advantage of things like podcasts and reading, and it accelerates growth. I wouldn't be who I am or where I am today if it wasn't for books. It's that simple.
I've referenced it here before, man. I can't imagine what it's like. So I have 3 kids now, 5, 3, and now 3 weeks. And
wow, congratulations!
Oh, thank you, man. It's awesome. It's amazing, and I cannot imagine what it's going to be like when their generation grows up. Even when they're 20 years old, they only know what life is like when they have the internet and they have all of this right at their fingertips.
It's going to be crazy.
What's it going to do? There's obviously going to be, it's yin and the yang. There's good and bad, but the good should far outweigh the bad. I think for the people that are doing it right, man. Just how advanced they can be from a young age. My 3-year-old boy can. We don't even let him use it, but he can still figure out how to work an iPad and unlock it and figure everything and go to his little video app and watch I got Amazon Video and watch his little kid shows.
It's crazy
already. So
yeah.
It's going to be cool to see what happens down the road with generations moving forward. But they can always go back and reference stuff like this, man, and watch Inside Quest and watch my podcast and see us talking about predicting the future, basically, probably.
Yes. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
All right, Tom, I'm gonna let you roll here, though. Where do you think? What's the best place for people to find you? Websites, Twitter, all that stuff.
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Instagram. I just started that Snapchat game. Oh, I should be Snapchatting.
I don't even understand Snapchat, really, man. I mean, I know it sounds old. I sound like an old dude, but I don't. What made you start Snapchat?
AJ, my marketing department made me start Snapchatting. So I was like, guys, come on, only kids are on Snapchat. So, they're like, no.
So man, you Snapchat publicly, like you have a public account, and it goes to everybody, and then it disappears on their screen too?
Yeah, so yes, so it only stays up for 24 hours. The way that I use it is the behind-the-scenes look, and I'm going to have June punch me in the mouth when we're done here for not Snapchatting this, which I should have been doing. But yeah, so I was going to use Snapchat as more the personal behind-the-scenes stuff. And then doing the podcast obviously is very formal. But I'm very active on Twitter. I try to respond to every single comment on YouTube. My username is @TomBilyeu. Sadly, my name is not easy to spell, but it's B as in Bravo, ILYEU.
All right. That's your Twitter handle, right?
That's everything. So okay. That's Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all of it.
See, Snapchat, dude, I'm just on Twitter, basically, and I'm terrible at it. But
you both.
Yeah, it's like I always thought Snapchat was for the kids to send the nudie pics back and forth.
Yeah, God, that's got to be terrifying as a parent.
Yeah, these guys for dudes to send dick pics to their high school girlfriends.
I don't do that. So if people are going to be following me, rest assured, not a single one.
Well, because you got a public account. I think it's for like that's why I don't understand Snapchat being public like this now. I don't get it. Maybe it always has been. Yeah, people do it. I don't know. I'm just behind. I need to stay up to date on that stuff because it's true. And nothing ages you faster than letting all the technology and all the stuff pass you by.
Hey, for sure.
So I need to at least be aware of it.
For sure.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see how that goes. But Tom, really appreciate it, man. Super inspirational. We'll link everything up here with this, and I'm a huge fan of Inside Quest. I will be watching you really dig in deep with these awesome people that seem to inspire everybody. So appreciate it, man, and hopefully we can talk again soon.
For sure. AJ, thank you so much for having me on, man. I think your show is incredible. It was really an honor to be on here, so thank you.
Thank you, man.
All right, sounds good. Take care. Bye.
We're glad you could join us for today's conversation. After you subscribe to the show, head over to thehawkcast.com or reach out to AJ directly on Twitter @officialAJHawk to recommend future guests that will help us inspire people to keep talking. Thanks again, and we look forward to speaking with you next time on the HawkCast.